As soccer takes center stage this summer, Comcast helps bring the experience home to America. As the exclusive Spanish-language home of the tournament in the U.S., Telemundo is set to present its most expansive coverage ever. 700 hours of programming, live on-site presence at all 104 matches. And with multi-view and real-time 4K, Xfinity will deliver the most innovative and immersive sports viewing experience for fans watching on Telemundo, Peacock, Fox, and FS1. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to take this time to promote our brand new book here, if you can see it on the screen. Champions for a Cause, Volume 1. It is a collection of interviews with some of your favorite wrestling personalities. I'm talking about people like Mark Marrow, Jake the Snake Roberts, Tito Santana, Buff Bagwell, and so many others. You can get your copy now on Amazon for $15. It is available in paperback. With me right now, I have a very special guest. Former WWE Cruiserweight Champion, Hardcore Champion, European Champion, Tag Team Champion. He's wrestled for the WWE, ECW, and TNA. I am talking about the one, the only Spike Dudley is with us. Welcome, Spike, to Wrestling with Heart.
Howdy. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Oh, my gosh. I have been a huge fan of yours and the Dudley Boyz for many, many years. Doing a lot of research on you and your career. You've been a huge wrestling fan all the way back to childhood. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I grew up, wrestling was just always my first love, as far back as I can remember. That was it. I mean, and I grew up in New England, so it was. I mean, this was in the 70s and 80s, and so it's still very much the territory. So the only thing I had access to was the WWF. So I grew up on that. But I started going to shows when I was 8 years old and went to every show I could possibly go to, and just always the biggest fan.
Yeah, the WWE was huge in that Massachusetts, New York, Maine, that
Philadelphia,
whole...
Washington, Baltimore, New York, and New England.
Yeah, so this was like around the time, you're talking about 70s, so this is like when Bruno was champion?
When I first remember when Backlund, so I think it was 78 when he beat Billy Graham. It was right around that time that I started to remember like champions and get into it. So Backlund was my first world champ. Okay.
Yeah, Backlund was an amazing professional wrestler, competitor. What was it about Backlund that just was
at the time, he was very scientific. And it's funny going back because I watch a lot of old school stuff still. And his style, one, you could see the shoot wrestler in him, which I always appreciated. But I always thought as a kid, I remember his spots, like his stuff just being magical. Like he was the only person doing that sort of scientific wrestling. There were guys that, everybody had different things going and all of that. But just for me, he captured the essence of babyface.
Yeah, it's like you always want to have somebody that is relatable, that displays traits that people are drawn to. Right. And Backlund just displayed a lot of those.
Yeah.
And he drew a lot of money, and people came out to see him. And to this day, when people grow up, such as yourself, like thinking about like wanting to go into the business that grew up around that era, it just harkens back to a time where you had like classic good guys and bad guys, and stories that captivated the audience.
Yeah. Here's a funny story. My first live show, it was in 78. It was like September or November 78 at the Boston Garden. It was Backlund versus Ivan Koloff. And the match ended because Backlund bleed in. But it was, for me, it was my first match. It was crazy. It was just like highlight of my life sort of a thing. It must have been maybe 10 years ago or so. I did that, the big event, the autograph signing in Long Island. And Backlund and Koloff were there, and their wrestling characters were such opposites of their real personalities. Like Backlund was in his goofy, crazy mode, and Ivan was just like the sweetest, nicest guy. He was pretty close to passing at that point, but he was very gentle, very kind, and all of that. And Backlund was playing it up. He was doing his hyper thing, and it was like, wow. Growing up, I hated you and I loved him, and now it's kind of reversed. not that I don't like him, you know what I mean? It was just, it was funny.
What's the saying? Like, never meet your heroes?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you always know at a young age this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I always knew it was the dream. I never thought I was never a big person, obviously. I didn't suddenly shrink, but so I never thought it was realistic, like as a kid. But I always knew it was like the dream. I didn't think it was feasible. I didn't think it was ever possible, but I just kind of kept trying at it, and one thing led to another.
Other than wrestling, did you have any other career aspirations? Anything that you?
No, I mean, I went to college. I have a degree, but in terms of what else would you want to do? No. There's nothing else that ever had my, something from the heart. Wrestling was it.
And so you start going to wrestling school, you get in, and when you go to these schools up close and personal, this is not ballet. This is hard work. And you go in there and you really have to think to yourself, okay, how am I going to be able to sink my teeth into this?
Yeah. Well, it was still, and when I started, kayfabe was still on. So I went in there under the guise of being a referee or manager, but they threw me in with the big guys. And they didn't even tell us it was fake. I mean, not that nobody knew, but they still played that the first 3 to 6 months. It was all amateur wrestling and just learning bumps and things like that. But never once was it like work or, this is how you fake a punch sort of a thing. It was always very on the hush hush until the big reveal, which obviously wasn't much of a reveal, but that was how it was played out there. This was like 93, 94.
Growing up, before entering in the business, were you into sports? Did you play any sports that?
Yeah. I mean, I was baseball, football. We didn't have a wrestling team at my school, so football was the closest thing I could do. that was like kind of physical and get into it and stuff like that. So even then I was on the line. I was 140 pounds and I was a center and I was an inside linebacker. So I didn't mind getting hit or being hit or hitting, you know what I mean? I was always physical like that.
Yeah. And the thing is like a lot of wrestlers, they kind of like, if you notice, like the football and the wrestling kind of go hand in hand because so many of the greats started in football. And I feel like it helps kind of prepare them as well as something like amateur wrestling because they're learning how to use their body in a way that they're not used to.
Right. Well, it's leverage and it's, you know, obviously the size factor and you've got to be athletic to play, you know, any of the major sports. So, and I think it's pretty tough to get into the NFL. I mean, those guys that are all Division I football players, they're amazing athletes, but they don't make it to the NFL. So wrestling kind of seems to be a, you know, a natural direction for those guys.
Now, starting out in the ring, what were some hurdles that you felt like you had to overcome as far as like grasping the material, grasping the knowledge? Did you feel like you took to it right away or did it take you some time to like?
No, because I would spend hours and I mean, it wasn't a question of grasping it. It was more perfecting it. I mean, if somebody taught me something, I understood it. I always had a good, even though I never did amateur wrestling, our first few months was all shoot wrestling. And I took to it pretty well. Now, keep in mind, nobody else was even close to my size. So when I was sparring, because they threw everybody in, managers, referees, wrestlers, everybody went through the same training. So you'd have to get on the mat and spar with guys that were always 50, 75, 100 pounds bigger than me. And, you know, most of the time I lost, obviously, but I held my own. I didn't make it easy for them. So I was a sponge when it came to stuff like that. Somebody taught me how a leg takedown. I got it, you know, it escapes. I got it. That all came really pretty natural, you know, but that repetition was what it was for me.
Yeah, you always want to make sure like you constantly work at whatever it is you're doing and doing it over and over again really helps you get it down. Whenever I've had people on the show, they've talked to me about their time in wrestling school. Many times they've talked about some of the people they would train with that would go on to be future stars. Who were some of the people that you got to
well, my thing, wrestling school was a new wrestling school. It wasn't an established one like, you know, it wasn't Larry Sharp, Killer Kowalski. It wasn't like one of these known entities. The promoter, the owner, his name was Roland Alexander. He had the trainer, head trainer, the guy that really trained me, his name was Rick Thompson, who he was just you know, an average worker in the Southwest Arizona, but you know, back then in the 70s and stuff like that, you knew what you were doing. So he was the trainer. He was never TV or anything like that. But we were in brand new wrestling school, and some of the guys, a couple guys got some dark matches and whatnot, but I was the first person that, you know, connected with a major promotion out of the school. Now Crash was there, but he didn't start training there. He came in to work shows, but he had already been trained. So I don't consider him like an APW guy. But then let's see who came out of there. Vic Grimes came out of there. You know, like Mike Modest and Mike Diamond. There were a lot of guys that were very successful on the indies, but only a couple of them went on. Me and Crash, I guess, would be the biggest names that came out of there from that side.
And the cool thing about that is later on you guys got to work together or be in a program.
Well, it was fun. Crash, I mean, he came out to ECW and only lasted a couple of weeks. He had a rough time at ECW. And then, but he got picked up by the WWF within a couple of months. And then they started the deal with Bob Holly, and he was tremendous success. So when I got there, it was nice. I mean, I knew a lot of the guys, the ECW guys that were already there, but it was nice to have somebody from way back, you know, that actually knew me as Matt versus Spike. And you know, we worked the gimmick, the thing with Molly. He was heavily involved in. It was fun to work with him. He was such a great worker. He was really easy and smooth, and it was a lot of fun. He was one of those guys that just made you laugh. You know, like he was always cracking jokes and busting jokes during the matches and stuff like that. And those are the moments, like when you're in the middle of brawling and somebody cracks a joke and you start laughing. It's like, but those are the moments, you know. But yeah, I miss him. It's left us far too soon.
Exactly. Like he was like the king of the hardcore title, 24/7.
Yeah. That was a great run. It was so entertaining. It really was. He taught me a lot about that too. You know, how to play some of these gimmicks and stuff. So, and he never once was there anything about, you know, taking a spot, or like he took me open arms, taught me, helped me out, you know. And I think that's the best promotions, the best workers, the best guys. You don't see a fellow wrestler as competition, you know. It's a group, and the more you make the other person shine, the more they make you shine, the more the company shines, the more money you make. You know, it's not an individual effort by any means.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always going to be guys on top, but they can't be on top unless they've got some competition or somebody to make them look good. So,
and that was what was so cool about the Monday Night Wars and the whole 90s and early 2000s boom period, was you had three companies all striving to be number one, and they wanted to bring out the best in each other. So you were in ECW for a good chunk of that time. Did Paul Heyman reach out to you? Who got you into ECW?
I honestly, I don't know how it happened. I'm sure he had a say in it, but it was, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month after ECW folded, Jim Ross called me and said, "Hey, would you like a contract? We want to bring you in and work with the Dudleys." And yeah, hell yeah. And a couple of days later, I debuted. I was in Rhode Island. I debuted in Albany Civic Center on, it was Monday Night Raw, and I did a run-in. And then, so I drove up there. It's only like 3 hours. The next night, we did SmackDown out of Providence. And so my opening shows, I got to drive home, stay at home, and then perform in front of my home audience for my first real match. My debut was just a run-in. The second night was my first match. It was me and the Dudleys against Edge, Christian, and Rhino.
Well, it helps to have such a comfortability to be able to wrestle in front of a familiar place like your hometown.
It was amazing. Yeah, because I'd sat in so many shows at that. Then it was the Providence Civic Center. I don't know what it's called now, the Dunkin' Donut. Who knows? But that was the arena that I'd been going to for 20 years. Every match I could ever go to, and I would go to every match I could possibly. And then suddenly to be like wrestling there was pretty amazing.
You had like one of your first high-profile feuds in ECW with Bam Bam Bigelow, and the pinfall heard around the world when you beat him 1, 2, 3. Describe the feeling of having such a huge victory like that.
Well, it was funny because he came up to me and they said it was Spike versus Bam Bam. I was okay, just squash match, great. I get to work with Bam Bam Bigelow. And pulled me aside. He goes, "You're going over, kid." And I was like, "What?" And I was freaked out because I didn't think I should be beating him or anything like that. And he was like, "What? You don't think? What's the problem?" And I was just like, "I don't want you to look bad." And he's like, "I'll take care of that." But he liked working with me because it was easy. Little guy, obviously he never left his feet for me or anything like that. He would just throw me around. But two, he really understood the concept of getting somebody over. So, he did the job for me one time, and then we wrestled for probably 2 or 3 months. We did the loops and stuff like that. And then with the throw, but that one win, that's all it took. The rest of my career was I always had a chance of winning, and especially with ECW, where it's so many unknown people, young guys trying to get over, it took the veterans to get the young guys over. And again, if he came in there selfish and just wanted to squash me, it wouldn't have done any good. So I learned an awful lot from him.
Yeah, ECW was a place where I feel like veterans really helped mold the young guys into stars.
Oh, absolutely.
And you being around all these people like Bam Bam and Bubba and Devon brought you under their wing and were with them for so long. Do you remember the first time it was pitched to you to become a member of the Dudley Boyz?
Well, that's how it was pitched to me. I was in California, and I'd send out, videotapes and things like that. And I got a call back from Taz. I had sent him like a highlight promo video, and something caught their eye. And so he was running the House of Hardcore, the school there. So he called me up and he said, "Do you have a couple more matches? Like, I want to see complete matches, not just clips." So, yeah, okay. So I sent him a few matches. And he called me back and he said, "Okay, well, if you can make it out to the East Coast, we'll take a look at you." And it wasn't like a contract. It wasn't a deal. It was come to New York for like a match, a tryout, and we'll see from there. I said, okay. And I packed everything I had into a Toyota Tercel or some dinky little car, drove cross country in 2.5 days, and showed up at the House of Hardcore. At the time, so it was Perry and Taz were running, like Mikey Whipwreck, Chris Chetty, Danny Doreen, Roadkill. Those guys were the students. I practiced with them. It was a Thursday, practiced with them for a few hours. The next night was a house show in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. I didn't wrestle, but I met everybody. And then the next night was the arena. And after whatever those 2 days of sort of like feeling me out, Bubba had talked to me earlier and said, "We're thinking of bringing you in as Spike, as like the run, because it fits in with the gimmick of there's a whole bunch of goofy characters in the Dudleys. So it's like put him in as Spike as the little guy." And they just handed it to me. And it wasn't, it wasn't like, "Oh, I'd like to wrestle as Matt." It's like, "This is the idea. Do you want to do it?" "Yeah, of course I want to do it." So I wasn't there for the meetings. I never really heard back, but I mean, I'm sure Taz, Dreamer, Paulie, I'm sure Bubba was involved in it because he was part of the Dudleys, but they all probably had their, it was a very open forum at ECW. Everybody kind of could put their 2 cents in. So I think the idea to bring me in as Spike was probably a collective decision.
What was Bubba and Devon like? What were they like to be around backstage?
They're always great. Because when I came in, Bubba was the face. Devon, he was feuding with Devon. So me and Bubba were a tag for the first few months that I was there. So it was a get to know you phase. He taught me the ins and outs and do's and don'ts. Basically, keep your mouth shut and learn. Do what you're told. And I got along fine. I got along fine with him. And I went over to his house a few times and met his family and things like that. Devon, it wound up, I started picking him up on the way to Philadelphia, driving through and got to know him. Devon's always been a sweetheart, just the nicest guys. But they've always, since that, once I passed the initiation, those two have always had my back. They've always protected me. They've always looked out for me. They've always, done their best to get me over, as much as me getting the shit beat out of them on their behalf. So it was definitely like a brotherhood.
So you make your debut in ECW. Do you remember the crowd reaction and response your first night out?
Well, it was what the hell. So I mean, my debut was Big Dick carried me down in a big canvas bag over his shoulder. It was just this bag, and he rolled me. It was like Jake the Snake with the snake, but it was me. So Bubba and Devon were brawling. Dick runs in with the bag, tosses me in, and I pop out of the bag. And then there's a little run, and I start hitting Devon, and he kind of no-sells it and hits me once, and I flop out of the ring. And there's a big schmoz, and 5 minutes later, we're on top of the balcony thing. What did they call it? The bird's nest or whatever they called it. And that's when Bubba picked me up and pressed me off the thing onto Devon, and that was kind of my debut. But it wasn't like a giant pop. It wasn't. They didn't know what was going on. It took a little while to get over.
Yeah, I'd imagine when you're taking those bumps like that, those spots. I mean, that's intimidating because you're using your body in a way that's like, not only you're not used to this, but this is like height level, like real height level.
Yeah, well, and it was very much the hardcore stuff, which was very, very different from when I had been, my training was all the wrestling, the heel face, and, and then I got, go to ECW. That was my first foray into ladders, tables, chairs. Oh my, I'd never, and I hadn't seen much of ECW. I was on the West Coast. It wasn't nationalized. I'd seen a couple of videotapes, a few clips of some stuff, but I didn't really understand it aside from what you read in like Meltzer's dirt sheets. I remember my first night, Dreamer pulled me aside and he's like, the crowd's going to be like crazy, just be ready for it. And I was like, oh, it's cool. And he was right. It's just a different mentality there. That audience is rabid. They love their ECW. But
yeah, I mean, it gained so much of a cult following. People still have fond memories of that promotion to this day.
Sure.
The legacy, it truly continues to live on. Do you ever like think back to yourself and go, man, I cannot believe that this happened so long ago, and it feels like yesterday that this happened?
I don't know about yesterday, but no, it feels like 20, 30 years. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a long time ago, but it's funny because I've been doing a couple of autograph sessions and running into guys I haven't seen forever, and the bonds stay the same. But yeah, I mean, I look back on it with fond memories. It's a very unique event, and as they live in your dream, and I got to be a part of something that was very special.
It indeed was special. And so you and Bubba and Devon had like an on again, off again rivalry.
Mostly off.
Yeah.
It's mostly off.
Yeah. Bubba and Devon would turn on you. You were face, they were heels. What was going on?
No, it was just, that was the nature of it. I mean, I'd been there for a few months with teaming with Bubba, and Bubba was feuding with Devon. He knew in advance. He had talked to me. He's like, Spike, I'm pitching that, me and Devon are going to take off. And he's like, hey, I'm not trying to leave you behind or anything, but like, this is what I think we've got something. I was like, no, go for it. It's all good. And it was good because it set me apart, because when they finally went off and started doing the thing, Big Dick was still kind of a heel with him, but he wasn't much of a singles wrestler. But so I got to break away and create my own identity apart from them, but then was involved in so many storylines and feuds with them, but you could always go back to it. But it made for some fun matches, and it left me free to work with a lot of other guys as well. So,
did you feel it was harder to break into singles, or did you feel it was easier? You were ready to go into that?
I think I prefer the singles matches because you're more in control of everything. With the tag, there's 4 people and the referee, and so there's 4 different personalities. When it works, it's beautiful. When you're in there with you've got a good partner and good opponents, it's a great thing. It's a lot of fun, and they're easier matches because you don't have to work as hard. But I think I preferred the singles match because I could control more of it. I liked taking the bumps. I liked being the jobber for all intents and purposes. I was good at it. So when it was just a singles match, it truly set up that Davey and Goliath storyline.
Yeah, like big man versus little man. I feel like that's one of the very special things about professional wrestling, is that it offers something you wouldn't normally see.
Right.
So like the big man, little man, and you saw so many of those matches over the years. You were there from about the mid '90s up until its closing. What was your reaction to when ECW folded?
I was kind of heartbroken. And then, because I think, anybody you talk to from those last 3 or 4 years of ECW would tell you it was the greatest time of our lives. And it really was. We weren't making the most money, but we were all, everybody was happy. It was so much fun to get together and have, 4 shows in a row, to do a pay-per-view or a TV taping. It was very much a family. There was still fighting, in-house fighting, but it was all for the same purpose. And it was just such a blast. It was, so when it finally ended, it was definitely like wow, this part of my life is over, and what am I going to do now? We'll work the indies or something. But I was fortunate because I got a call, within a month, and then a month after that, I was at the WrestleMania 17 in front of 80,000 people. So my career like kind of shot right up after the death of ECW.
Who can ask for anything better than to have a huge moment in a big place like Houston, Texas?
Oh, it was insane.
Astrodome.
Yeah.
Thousands of people involved in one of the hottest storylines.
Mm-hmm.
You must have been on cloud 9 when you were involved in a huge event like a WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was tough to take all in. My biggest audience had probably been 3,000 or 4,000, and suddenly, like, not even Romania, but suddenly we're doing arenas with 15,000, 20,000 just for like Raw or SmackDown, even regular house shows. The card was so packed that anytime we were anywhere, it would sell out. Our lineup was like The Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, Benoit, Guerrero, Edge, Christian, the Hardys, the Dudleys, like from top to bottom, the card was just stacked. So at the time we were riding high. I mean, business was booming. We were making money. We were selling out, and it was insane. So yeah, to go from 2 months earlier, but 3,000 people to.
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
75,000 or whatever it was at the Houston Astrodome was just mind-blowing.
We talked a bit ago about Crash. What was it like working that storyline with Molly Holly?
It was fun. It was a fun gimmick. It was cute, like we were just both average, normal things, and it was a good, again, it just a Davy Goliath story, times 2. So it was fun. It didn't last very long. It was only a few months, and then she went heel, and I went on my own way. But it was cool, and that was the first time I'd ever done any of like those mixed tags. You know what I mean? And some of them were very impressive workers. You know what I mean? So it was a different style for me. I mean, I had to wrestle Lita once. Actually, the build up, it might have been right after that WrestleMania when we were still doing and that was a lot of fun. Different mentality, but it was cool. It was cool.
And also you have an influx of talent come in. Other ECW stars come in. A lot of WCW stars come in because this is right after when the company got bought out. What was it like working with some of those guys?
Oh, they're all great. I mean, yeah, they brought in everybody from WCW. That's when they had to do like the Raw SmackDown split just to accommodate everybody. But there was, just tons of talent. I mean, that was that was the biggest difference, was how good the guys in the WWF were, WWE were across the board. Like ECW was fun and all that, but it wasn't necessarily the greatest wrestlers. I mean, there certainly were some, but not all. But everybody from top to bottom were so good, and they all understood my gimmick, and they all worked with me, and it was so easy. I mean, the guys, like one of my earlier ones, we did Albert and Kid, X-Pac, and just incredible. But Albert was just such a beast, and I worked a few singles matches with him, and he was so good. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, there's just a lot of talent in that company at the time.
one of my favorite storylines that you were involved in, and I feel like it just doesn't get talked about enough, was when you were the boss.
My heel run. Yeah,
and
that was fun.
It was like, I feel like it's just, in my opinion, it's one of those underrated moments because here's someone who is involved with a team like the Dudley Boyz, these big guys, huge guys, don't want to mess with them, but they would normally be the ones in charge.
Right.
But their brother is in charge.
Right. That was what was fun about them. What happened was I had gotten hurt. I had to take a couple of months off, and I started training pretty hard and got into one time in my life where I actually had like a decent physique. And I was doing the cruiserweight thing. And the only time I ever went to Vince and said, Vince, I want to do something. Like, I'm so grateful, but I want a shot at the cruiserweight. Like I want a singles run. And then they came back and said, you want to turn heel? And hell yeah, I do. And that to be honest, that tells you how unselfish Bubba and Devon were, that they were willing to step down and put the focus on me and them kind of as my backup. But they had no problems for them. They did it willingly, happily, and it worked. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I'd ever worked heel. And also it put me in with the cruiserweight matches, which, almost all of my matches were always the big guy, little guy. So this time I got to go in there and actually wrestle a little bit with these guys, Billy Kidman and Jamie Noble, and Chavo was so good. Ray was so good. There's so many of those guys that were just Paul London and Guido and Funaki. Like we wrestled with all of those guys. They were all awesome. And playing the heel role was just a blast. It was fun.
Do you remember the night that you turned heel?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was the Ray thing. And we played it off so well because it wasn't, I beat him and we were still playing that I was pissed at the Dudleys because they cheated, like they interfered in the match without me knowing it. And that took the gate and allowed me to pin Ray. And when I turned around and saw, I realized what they did. Like, I was like mad at them. Like, I wanted to do it on my own. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So the next week it was me and Ray against the Dudleys. And that's where we did the swerve, and I kicked them in the groin and all of that. And started to get some heat. But Ray was awesome. Ray is just, God, the greatest worker ever. He was so easy to work with and so good and so smooth and just a blast. Like, he's one of the sweetest guys you'll ever. I can't tell you. I'll tell you a story about Ray. This was funny. A couple of years ago, they brought me for Philadelphia, the WrestleMania in Philadelphia a few years ago, just to be like the Hall of Fame and then do a couple of things. But we were there for 5 days. And so I had my family and we were walking in the back to get to where, the guests were supposed to go. And they're always filming vignettes and stuff like that. And Ray's got the camera on him and he's just about to cut a promo and he sees me. And he's like, Spike, and he's like, come on up and let's take pictures with the kids. I was like, Ray, don't you got to take a promo? He's like, nah, they can wait. And then he sat there and he talked to my kids and put me over and all that sort of stuff. And it was great to see him. I saw him a few times after that, but just that's how nice he is. Like he's just the sweetest guy.
Yeah, I feel like you helped kind of open the door for someone like a Rey Mysterio, somebody like that.
Well, Ray was already established. Like, I'd say Ray was the groundbreaker, but his athleticism was just a gazillion notches above everybody else. But like Mikey, they did the thing with Mikey before me when he beat Austin, and then I came along, and I think I was in that first wave of the little guy groundbreakers, but I would definitely put Ray in there as the guy that really opened the doors.
Well, I feel like when you were somebody that I feel like was a part of that group, though, because you helped kind of pave the way. You and Ray and so many other little guys really helped give younger guys or smaller guys opportunities to hang with the heavyweights and have main event storylines and big storylines. And so I'd like to think, I feel like you were a part of that.
Yeah, I think if anything, it was because I was the unathletic, no body little guy. You know what I mean? Like Ray at least had the physique on him. You know what I mean, as well as the athleticism. I was the average guy that anybody, any other kid like me that grew up wrestling could. Well, Spike did it. Maybe I can do it, sort of a thing. So, but I appreciate it. It's a nice compliment.
You're welcome. Was there ever an end game for your storyline with your brothers, the boss character? Was there like a...
No, they just came up to me one night, time, that's it, we're going to drop it to Funaki. Okay, cool. I had it for a few months and all that. And nobody holds titles for very long, especially like the minor titles. It was time. So, but now once, as I said, aside from that one time when I, went to Vince, like the booking was all done in advance in Connecticut. They'd come in for the weekend with their scripts, and this is what you're going to do. I never really argued it too much unless something made absolutely zero sense, but I just did what I was told.
And it's like coming off on such a run like that, it's hard because at that point, where do you go from there? I mean, who can ask for a better run like you had to be cruiserweight champion and and have a huge spot on SmackDown? And eventually they did the ECW one night stand deal where they brought you in with the Dudleys to do a spot.
That was my last match. Yeah, I had a broken leg, but that was my last show. I wasn't even where I think I ran down there with lighter fluid or something, but I wasn't even on the card because I was hurt, but that was my last night. And then a couple days later, I got the call of you're released.
It's devastating to hear that you're getting cut because you've been in that company for so long. You've had such a decorated career. What was the reaction? What was your reaction?
It's horrible. It rocked me. And I'll be honest, I didn't handle it well. I mean, if 2 months later, they started the ECW thing, I could have easily gone back in had I had any semblance of, but I really was so hurt by it that I was like, I'm done. And probably ran my mouth more than I should have. But then, Bubba and Devon were in TNA and they said, you want to come down here? And I was like, yeah, let's come down to TNA. So I'd pretty much already signed with them when the ECW thing came out, and they offered me to go back, and I said no, which is a very big mistake, to be honest with you. But at the time, it worked out well because had I kept on going, I'd probably be dead or broken. Like it was time for me to get out of the business. I had a couple of years at TNA, it was okay, a couple of years at Indies, sort of thing, but as you said, I peaked out at my size doing what I was going to do. It doesn't last forever. And it was a tough couple of years making the adjustment, but I'll be honest, I'm so grateful I got out of it when I did. So even though it sucked and it was heartbreak, in hindsight, it was the greatest thing for Matt Hyson to get cut out and to kind of wake up and say, okay, it's time to move on with your life. Appreciate what you had, but let's go to the chapter 2 of life.
If you had to write a better ending as your time as Spike Dudley, what would it be?
A better ending?
Yeah, if you had to write
I don't know. It's a hard one. What ifs? I don't know. I mean, I kind of appreciate, like, I know they brought back the ECW thing with the WWE, but I never really watched it much, but they brought in a bunch of other guys that, it wasn't really ECW. It couldn't be ECW under the WWE roof. So in a way, I kind of appreciate that I was never a part of it, of that version of it. I'm really happy that the guys got to get some work in that, they suffered for those years. I got picked up. I had a great career. A lot of the guys didn't, so it gave them a chance to make some money and experience the big stuff. But Yeah, I don't know. I don't look back at life and say, what if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? I mean, it doesn't do you any good.
You've had an amazing career, not only in the ring, but out of the ring as well. I know you've done a lot of work outside of the ring with charity work and organizations and being a part of things in your community. What can you talk about that you've been able to do as far as making
a lot of, I mean, to be honest, I've got kids, a daughter that's 15, a son that's 12. When they were in elementary school, my wife was president of the PTO, and I was always doing the PTO stuff, and it's a local, Lincoln, a public school system, but we would do a lot of the adopt a families every year, which was, it was time consuming. We do the adopt a families. There's a Kojo's Toy World in New Bedford, Massachusetts. We do toy drives for kids at Christmas every year. Still go out and do that, do signings and stuff like that, and donate everything to the toys. A friend of mine, I grew up in the same town I'm living in now, and a friend of mine runs the animal shelter, and we just agreed to do a deal for an autograph signing, raise money for the animals, which is a lot of fun. I've gone to hospitals and met autistic kids sick autistic kids that wrestling fans do surprise walk-ins on them and stuff like that. And it's cool. Anything you can do, you always want to get a chance to do. So.
It seems very rewarding, and you're going out there and you're talking to people that are going through a lot in their lives. Was there a particular event or cause that you're very passionate about, and an event that you were involved with that was very heartwarming?
No, it's the individual ones that were one-on-one. So there was one guy, he was never really got the full scope of his medical condition, but they didn't predict him to have long to live, but he was a huge wrestling fan. And his family knew someone who knew someone in Rhode Island. Everybody knows someone. And I did a surprise walk-in on this kid and sat with him for an hour and took pictures. And he was just so happy. And there's this kid that's, when he's autistic too, he's got he's death disease or some sort of cancer. I forgot what the issue was, but to put a smile on somebody's face like that for a little bit is just, it's insane. I mean, how good that makes you feel to do something so little as spend a little time with someone, because I don't look at myself as like a celebrity or a wrestling. I just say, I'm just Matt Heisen and I did something I like to do. But if you can do a little bit with what you've got to spread it around to other people, goodwill, it's a very nice feeling.
It is
power, I guess you would want to say. Yeah.
It definitely is. Kindness just goes a long way, and every little bit helps. Every little bit counts. Yeah. And you never know how it feels until you do it. Right. And it presents itself with a very positive feeling.
Yeah. And I'll say this to this day. I worked a little bit with John Cena. He was, coming in as I was going out, but the number of Make-A-Wish that guy does is just incredible. I mean, they're talking about somebody that gives back. Like I think he's got the record for like most Make-A-Wishes, and it tells you what a nice guy he is. I mean, there's somebody that works nonstop, but every day be going and meeting someone like that, it's amazing. It's a tribute to him.
It is. He's like an anomaly because he's constantly going out there, and even when he's busy, on a movie set now, he'll make time for that person that's going through a disease or sickness or illness. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what the power of that. Because I guess what I look back at as a kid, like watching wrestlers, they were like gods, you know what I mean, in that sense. So I guess I don't appreciate it, or I don't see it from the fans' perspective if they, flip out when they see, you Spike Dudley, and so someone's got to be. I guess it's me, but you really can make somebody light up with that. It's nice.
What is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Just because it's such a little effort goes a long way. You know, I mean, give somebody hope. If you can give somebody, you know, that light for a little bit, and you can raise somebody's spirits. If you can, it's just doing the right thing. You know, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's definitely cool.
It definitely is a very cool feeling. You've been out of the business now for several years. Do you at all keep up with the current product, or?
Nah, not really. Very seldom. I mean, I've gone to a couple of shows just being invited. You know, like I did the Team 3Ds, their farewell match. So I went to that show and watched the TNA show, and this is the WrestleMania. I watched that one, but in terms of what's on product in today's wrestlers, I don't know anything. I don't really ever watch it. It's different from when I was into it. I don't get that same spark from today's product. It's, to me, it's just a little too choreographed, and I can see through it, and it doesn't. Like, you can go, wow, that's a cool move, but I prefer somebody doing a cool move and then selling it and telling a story. And I can't even figure out who the heel and face is. Like, I don't even think they do heel face anymore. It's just everybody's got a gimmick, and I don't get the stories, and I don't really get the wrestling.
It changes, it evolves.
Yeah.
Just like
and I'm not trying to knock it. It's just once I got out of it, I had to get out of it completely, you know, because I did love it so much that I couldn't kind of halfway be in it. It's either all or nothing. So when I got out, I just got out and went on to, you know, wife and raising the kids, and there's no time for it. And so
when you went back to TNA to be a part of Team 3D's final match, what was the feeling like being around those guys after so many years? And
it was great. I mean, it's not like I hadn't seen them. I'd still done over the years. I mean, I always would meet up with them. I'd done some events over, you know, fairly regularly with them. So, but it was just cool to be in the locker room. It was cool to be suited up to go out for that last, you know, their last thing. It was a special moment, and I appreciated them inviting me and having me be a part of it. So that was a fun way to go out.
Yeah, I mean,
Plus, I didn't have to take any bumps.
You were such a vital part of that whole Dudley faction, being able to play the role of the little guy that can beat up, that could have a chance to beat up the big guys and go out there and have these incredible matches. When people come up to you at these conventions and events, it has to feel good. Knowing that you were part of their childhood, then coming up to you and giving you that positive encouragement and that feedback.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very cool. It's always cool, especially because that you know, the people that were kids watching me, they're now adults and going, "Oh, it was so cool watching you." And then there are adults that are now old guys that are still saying that, you know. So it's fun to have an impact on so many people in some way, at least the positive ones. You know, you're not everybody's favorite, so. But I was certainly some people's favorite.
Aside from the Dudleys, who are some people that you see at these conventions and you haven't seen these people in a long time, but you pick up right where you left off?
Any and all of them. I mean, there's not a one that I worked with that you can't go back and just start a conversation and be on good terms. Because I said, there's nothing like the bonds that you create traveling, wrestling together and stuff. So. They're all, everybody you see, you want to spend an hour talking to. You just don't have enough time, you know. But you can pick up right back up with anybody. So,
favorite matches that you were involved in?
I don't know. There's too many to count. I can't think. I mean, it's tough because I love wrestling everybody. There was. You know, Bubba and Devon, I work with them so much. There's not like any one that stands out. I love working with, you know, I love doing the opening match with like Stevie Richards. I main events with Austin and Undertaker. Like there's no, I love them all for different reasons. It's too hard to pick out a favorite.
Was there a match that you never got to have that you wish you could have had?
No, not really. Can't really think of it. I don't really go back with any sort of regrets and say, oh, this or that, but no.
As we're kind of closing things up here, wrapping up here, how would you want wrestling fans to best remember Spike Dudley?
Oh, yeah, someone that gave it his all, someone that wasn't trying to get himself over, somebody that it told a story that was, that the underdog that was worth rooting for, that was entertaining. I hope I was be remembered for being worthy of having the spot that I had. Yeah,
and you definitely were able to play that character incredibly well, and it just showed so much on screen. Definitely had people at the palm of their hand, wanting to see more of what you were able to do. And so
how are they going to beat Spike up tonight? Yeah. That's all
right.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful getting the chance to have you on Wrestling with Heart. And I want to say thank you for coming on.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Where can people find more about you? If you have anything you want to plug, feel free.
I've got a few things coming up. I'm doing a FusionCon autograph session in Springfield, Massachusetts. Let me look at my calendar on the date. Hang on one second. That is July 25th and 26th. I'll be out at WrestleCon in Minneapolis, the 29th and 30th, or the 28th, 29th, and 30th. Is that it? When is that? Oh, no, that's okay. The 31st of August, 31st of July, 1st and 2nd of August is WrestleCon. And the Fusion thing in just a couple of weeks. Oh, the 24th and 25th. 25th and 26th of July in Springfield. The following weekend, a WrestleCon in Minneapolis. I've got a few things coming up. I'll put them out there. I'm on Twitter. I don't do much a lot, but I am there. I've got a Facebook. I'll probably be doing a website. I'm starting to do a lot more. Starting to go out a little bit as the kids get older. It's good. My wife and I we're taking advantage of it to travel, have some fun, see some guys, but have a vacation and not have to worry about paying for it. So we usually, go sign autographs for a few hours and then do whatever, wherever we are. So it's fun, kind of second part of life, because the kids are going to be out of the house soon. So now we're going to focus kind of on me getting to reconnect with wrestling. She's acting kind of as my agent, handling the details, but it's a lot of fun.
What's your favorite place you've gotten to travel to?
Oof. Wow. Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, Vegas is always fun. I went out to Vegas this year, and actually we turned that was one of the reasons why I did it, was we turned it into a vacation. So we took our wife and my kids, and we spent 4 or 5 days in Vegas doing the autograph session and then bopping around seeing shows and stuff. And then we took 5 days, 6 days and did the Grand Canyon, going around seeing that. And that was just an awesome, awesome vacation. So I got to say that was a lot of fun, because you're going from the city to just incredible nature. I always said South Korea, when we did Seoul at the WWE, was a pretty amazing place to see. Australia was a lot of fun. But I mean, there's stuff in the U.S. that's also great. I always liked Minnesota. I always liked Northern Michigan. It's always cool. I know I can sit here and recite every city. I can't even think of. I've wrestled in every state in the country, including Alaska and Hawaii. I've been to about 15, 20 countries. Europe and Asia and stuff. So I've traveled an awful lot. I haven't spent much time sightseeing or seeing stuff aside from arenas and airports. So this is kind of a fun thing to get out there and do these sessions and have time to do stuff. And that's the whole point, is let's, instead of, getting beat up at night, it's go out and see some sights,
Yeah,
So,
it's your way of reconnecting with your wrestling fans, getting back out there.
Yeah.
And getting to see some friends you hadn't seen in a while, and getting a chance to go to places you haven't really been to in a while. So, yeah, take advantage of that. Have fun.
Right. Absolutely. That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, Spike, thanks again so much, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Absolutely. Send me one of those books, by the way.
Will do. Yes. Yes. Check it out. We'll, if you're interested, we'll get you in volume 2.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, you can get your copy now of Champions for a Cause Volume 1. It is out now in paperback on Amazon for $15. Check it out now. Do not want to miss it. I'm talking about people like Mark Marrow, Jake the Snake Roberts, Tito Santana, Buff Bagwell, and so many others are in this book. Do not want to miss out on this opportunity. I'm Stanley Carr, and I will see you next time.
Out.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.